Good morning and welcome everyone to our webinar for today. It is titled Wowing Prospects into Clients. And that really is, as far as I'm going to define it, as we'll be sort of breaking down the scope and activities of that, how to have more than just that intro conversation, the classic coaching, getting to know you intro conversation, working for you in order to seal the deal, in order to have someone say yes, beyond just being a client who's materially interested in checking out what you have. I want to say yes and actually become that paying client and work with you in earnest. So let's define that. Let's define exactly what I mean by wowing prospects. To do so, it's really important for us to bring a certain empathy and see that experience that your prospects are currently dealing with. They're just trying to find a coach through their eyes. I don't know if you've been in the game of being a coach for a while. This might be now sort of invisible to you because it's not hard to find a coach and you know what you're going to get and it's a known quantity and the methodology and the trust is there. But there's a whole host of concerns, I assure you, that folks are dealing with when they are going through the process of, vetting in earnest. Is this the right person for me? Is this the real deal? Do I have what it takes? Is it a fit? Will I be comfortable? And maybe most of all, is this going to give me something I don't already know? All of these sort of questions and concerns. And actually, if you sit with them, because these are all very generic, these probably apply to every one of you who's sitting on the line now. But if you sit with the kind of coaching that you specifically do, you can probably tease out a few more specifically nuanced ones that are tailored to the kind of work you do to, again, get greater empathy for what they're dealing with them trying to find a coach. Anyway, considering these concerns is a fantastic angle into what it is to address them powerfully and have someone have confidence. So when it comes to wowing client, I feel, or not a client, a prospect, I figure there are two parts to treating them really well. The first is confidence in the deal that you are offering. There's an awful lot of ins and outs about, well, what am I going to get if I choose to engage with this coaching program? And we've covered that pretty thoroughly in our webinar titled Pitching Prospects and Winning Clients. There's a lot of things everyone wants to know. Being responsible for those gives confidence in that deal. The second part of treating them really well that I consider is giving them a delightful experience of that first, interaction with you. Make it clear what it is going to be like if they actually work with you. If they actually say like, okay, yeah, I see this real deal and I now get a sense of like, ooh, this is how it's going to be. And more so, we want them to be excited to do so. We want them to be excited by that taste that you can give them about what it's going to be like working with you. Excited such that you want them to be saying things like, ah, yes, this is what I've been looking for. This is buttoned up. This speaks to me. This lays my concerns to rest. I can see that this is the real deal. I'm so glad I found this. That's what we're going for. So to think about where we can sort of take action and set things up to have that sort of, whoa, yes, kind of experience in our prospects so that they're more likely to become our clients. Let's be real specific and map out the scope of what I mean by prospects. It's a term of art in business and funnels and all that stuff. It can mean a lot of things. We're going to clearly draw the boundaries here. Between never having heard of you and someone who's been with you for years, there's an awful lot of steps in between. And I'm going to call them that these are the steps. Now we could, pick and choose about where we draw the lines and how we go into detail and as we break down these steps. But all these are kind of the things that are kind of stepping stones along that way from complete oblivion to who are you to like, wow, I've been working with you for years, you're great. And we're going to focus in the context of this webinar on these steps. We're going to flesh out and map out that these are the steps of what we consider to be a prospect. Now, if you're interested in more powerfully doing other parts of it, checking you out, having a website visit, there's a webinar for that. Considering your pitch, we have a webinar for tightening up your pitch and making that more compelling. And everything to do with beyond their decision to work with you, we have a lot of webinars to go into the nuts and bolts of that. But today, it's all about these particular steps and breaking them down. Now, note that I've also got in things that are not quite there. Prospects is not only a term of art in business, but it's also kind of loosely bastardized and has all kinds of connotations. I'm not, for example, talking about prospects who are people on your newsletter. Those are leads for our purposes. There's a lot of sort of like softer things. Prospects are, I'm saying they start with someone who's actually looking at what your offering is, the introductory one or the whole kit and caboodle of what you have on offer. And that's what we're going to focus on tightening up. So to get into a conversation about how to handle prospects, I think it's very important for us to sort of compare and contrast against what is, again, kind of conventionally associated with handling prospects. Your customer relationship managers are all about prospects, and your commodity schedulers for like having a prospect book with you is also kind of on radar as sort of like comparing and contrasting. So we're going to examine in earnest where they overlap and where they diverge. So as a baseline, our commodity schedulers, the sort of online things that many people kind of want CoachAccountable to be. Sorry, we're not going there. But commodity schedulers often provide, self-service scheduling. Of course, that's the foundation. And they're probably going to sync with your calendar so that the system knows not to double book you. And they're going to have an intake questionnaire so that people can fill out some information as part of their booking with you, maybe. And they're maybe going to have some payment options to book with you and pay a fee for that first thing or not. And some of them also have timer reminders. Again, maybe to you or to them. A lot of them don't, because it's a matter of like, well, it'll add to your calendar and it's up to you from there. CoachAccountable has all these things, and we skip all the maybes. All those things are possible and doable and really well tread ground for making this as elegant as possible. But it also has access to your coaching platform. And we're going to call that, for the purpose of this webinar, the CA Advantage for Prospects, TM. Just kidding, it's not trademarked, but it is a term of art that I'm going to allude to. We'll call it the CA Advantage for short, because this is going to be an idea that I really want to flesh out and put on your radar so that you can wield it effectively. Now let's talk about what I'm dubbing the CA Advantage for Prospects. Well, by virtue of giving them a window into your coaching process, letting them see your platform, it's not immediately obvious how this is a win for prospects. If you relate to your CoachAccountable account as like, oh, this is a place for you to schedule things, and we'll be taking notes and you can message back and forth. Kind of pedestrian and very useful, does an awful lot of work to keep things streamlined, make your business run better and make coaching work better. But it's kind of there's a certain art to presencing like why this matters and why this is actually interesting, and making that abundantly clear to your prospects. So this window into your coaching process is non-trivial, but it takes a little art to describe. But it gives you something. It gives the prospects something that, I said that confidence of, is this the real deal? Is this going to work for me? A window into the coaching process can be very instructive there. You can also use it as a delivery of additional messages and materials. Again, when they first encounter your offering, they've no doubt seen it framed nicely with a sort of pitch and why and a context for it. But now, once they've decided to engage with you and say, yes, I'm raising my hand, I'd like to get that intro call with you, you can drip them certain other things that give them just a little more taste, a little more style of what you do and what's in store. And part of what you can deliver to them in this way is the opportunity for some pre-guided work. Maybe, and this is a really good idea, you can sort of set on their radar a couple of things they could start to do to start taking action and make a difference that's also in line as either part of or precursor to the kind of work that you'll be doing or things that you'll be talking about in that intro conversation. And all of this is really constituting some proof that with you, they're going to get more than just the conversations they have with you. They're going to have a sense of like what it is that's going to have them be supported between those sessions. And that creates a certain wow factor for clients when you do it right. The wow factor is going to show that professionalism, that this is a really buttoned up process. This is not just someone with a phone call and a notebook that's, giving you conversations and then good luck. But this thing, you're demonstrating that it's a results-oriented approach. They're going to get a glimpse of, oh, cool, we're going to keep score. We're going to keep records. We're going to show what there is to be done and what was done. We're going to show where we were and where we got to over time. And that all is really serving to demystify the process. Now, I make this the third bullet point in this list because it kind of is almost an afterthought. Because again, to us who are steeped in the world of coaching and certainly our own style of coaching, there's nothing mystifying about it at all. But going back to the empathy for the concerns, they don't know what they're going to get. From the outside to the uninitiated, coaching just looks like a bunch of conversations. And so anything you can do to make it clear it's not just a bunch of conversations and that there will be results-based things tacked onto it to help it actually make a difference is going to be really powerful, because it's going to build confidence that, oh, I could see this working for me and I could see this being the right thing. And when you do that, when you get all those things in line, prospects are naturally going to be more likely to be impressed that you are the real deal. they're going to be excited to show up and participate more fully, because they'll see like, oh, this is a game that I get to play at, and there's a winnability to it, and I'm being supported. That'll all help them to understand that it is right for them, if it is right for them. Of course, if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. But there's so many coaching programs that would be really great for someone if only they got that it was actually going to be really great for them. A lot of coaching gets lost to the wayside, like, nah, that's not for me. And yet, if we had a time machine and they did the program, their future self would absolutely go back and say, do this program. It was really good. We want them to have that understanding of it's right for them, if it actually would be. All of these things naturally lead into them turning into paying clients, them going from mere prospect to, okay, yes, I'm in, let's do this. So let's see how we can effectively wield the CoachAccountable advantage for prospects. So we've got these various steps that, again, was our area of focus of what it is to take someone from a prospect to genuinely working with you. And we're going to go through each of these sort of bits and sort of flesh out the properties of how to set things up to make it as good as possible for your people. This all starts with, of course, a nice experience of signing up. You know, there's the framing of the offering that is important. It's going to give that context for going into. It's going to make present and obvious the why behind it. And that all happens with presencing a powerful pitch. When you frame the offering, you've got two ways to do it really in terms of CoachAccountable offerings. The most recommended one is, you know, have a nice website on your own webpage or something like that, that gives the whole story, and then embed a nice little widget that allows them to take action right then and there. And if you can't be bothered, or if you want the quick and dirty, you can certainly make it a standalone page that is hosted by CoachAccountable. And there's a nice little trick. If you make an offering, you can set the description and the blurb. And then if you make a collection of offerings, which is meant to be sort of, you know, a menu of several offerings, but you make a collection with just the one offering, there's no need for a menu. So it'll surface those details, that context, that framing for the offering right there. And that looks like this. It's sort of a, you know, if you're just sending a newsletter or just posting something on social media, it can be really elegant to link to just a standalone page somewhere. And you can indeed do that in CoachAccountable. And by making, again, a good frame that presences the why, that is your first step for having them take that, you know, go forward to actually sign up for it. Next up, in that next experience of signing up, we want to make sure that the scheduling appointment is kind of right-ish. There are a couple properties of how they can book into the calendar that I recommend highly. One is the suitable number of days out, not too far in advance. And the reason for that is it sort of sets the tone of committed change happens now, not someday. If someone is booking an intro call with you a month from now, they might have completely lost track of why they even cared or forget about it or anything else. When you only offer options in the next couple of days, that really sort of at a subconscious level and a practical one really creates a, if you're interested, let's do this. Let's do this sooner than later. Similarly, with the suitable time options, you want to kind of massage those to not also have too many options. I like to say convey flexibility, but maybe not too flexible. Just like it's nicer to go to a party that's a little bit crowded versus completely empty, you want a calendar that's got a couple of spots, but not just like, oh, just any time book with me. I've got nothing else going on. Convey that flexibility, but not too flexible. Next up in that nice experience of signing up is the information that you are collecting to make them sign, to allow them to sign up. I like to say just minimize this for two reasons. One, ease of signing up. Don't make them fill out a lot of things, you know, take the minimum. And two, just don't be a creeper. If you don't actually need that information right now, minimize it, forget about it. Just, we can worry about collecting more information later. CoachAccountable will allow you to say you can, yes, collect and require all the things. Please don't do that. You should only be very selective about what sort of things you are actually saying should be collected. Make it easy for them. Third part of the signing up being nicely is the intake worksheet. I like to do a rule of sort of little rule of thumb. The worksheet questions themselves should be 1 part vetting to 2 parts tell me what matters to you. Yeah, you can demonstrate an awful lot about this whole process is for you. I care about what you're interested in. So give them some opportunities to think on what this is all about, and to noodle on it and to be heard. Just a couple of good questions that allow them to noodle on that and make it all about them and put the focus on what's important to you is very respectful of the time and gives them a sense of like, ooh, someone's going to read this and we're going to be able to talk about it. You want to give them that kind of experience. Next up, the welcome message and the confirmation email. Now, you can do welcome messages and confirmation emails that are very sort of clinical. Dear so-and-so, you are booked for this time. We will see you then. Sincerely, da da da. But I say, give them the warm fuzzies. There's an awful lot of good copywriting to really generate what you would say to them in the moment. Like, hey, I'm so excited you've decided to take on, what we have to offer. I'm excited to work with you. Come in and check it out. And beyond the general excitement, you can set the expectations of what's going forward. Now, in commodity schedulers, all that's going forward is, we'll talk to you next Tuesday. There's not a lot to set, but you can set some expectations and indeed convey what to do next, where there's some things that are kind of interesting above and beyond just having signed up, and things that can happen before the call itself. And we're going to talk about that very next. So this is a nice little example of some copy that someone might see as the first thing when they go to sign up with you. And as you know, in CoachAccountable, with your either welcome message or confirmation email that gets sent, you can have a little magic button link that sets them right into the portal themselves. They can register their account and get going and see some stuff. And it's that seeing some stuff that I think is presenting an awful lot of opportunity for you to impress in all those ways that I've distinguished so far. So, as part of that going on, you can issue an agreement as part of the offering. And I say for the intro one, not at this point. This is not the time to put in such formalities. There's no need for it. It would be onerous. You can do that if you're getting started an artist, but simplify again is the name of the game. So now we move on to an impressive experience in-app. And here's where we're going to take advantage of the fact that someone can book with you, and then they can actually go in and see how some things work right off the bat and explore at their own leisure. We want to do, with what we want to do, we want to really set the stage and make it clear, well, why do we have this app? There's a couple of general ideas to surface in whatever it is that they see when they first get in there. Things like, hey, this process is going to be more results oriented because, again, reasons of documentation and follow through and a record of what got done. You're going to let them know it's more of a process. It's not just the conversations, but a supported interactive thing that's going to help them bring the coaching to their lives when you're not there. There's accountability for follow through. There's a sort of way by which to make sure that they're more supported in actually doing the work to have the coaching make the difference. And the clear record of wins are going to be developed. Now, these 4 broad brushstrokes of what kind of things you can put in there to impart upon them the why that makes it more impressive, this pretty much is the map. But execution of this is maybe easier said than done. So let us make this easy. I have for you guys a course that I have created, which is called Tour the Process, that it can be a really nice starting point for you to have leveraged, the thought work of all these 4 ideas woven in nicely. And then you can tailor it to make it even better, even more resonant with what you do and your own style. So let's have a demo of the process thus far. And if you're interested, for us at home who would like to follow along, you can install this in your own account. If you visit the resource packages, do a quick search for wowing, and this resource package will come right up, and you can install this now, but maybe you should kind of stay on the line and watch me do my thing. But just so you know, this will be available at any time so that you can also take advantage of what I'm about to show you. So let us go to an offering that is, again, sort of in standalone form. We could, again, do a framing on the website itself, but here's a standalone offering which gives sort of a little verbiage that does it. We're going to proceed to register, see some options, time, date. I'll give it a name. Some verbiage that kind of makes us feel welcome. What are you looking for? If I say no, the system's like, oh, okay. This is a nice, there's a bit of that, a dose of that vetting where it's like, hey, if you're not into any of what we offer, maybe this isn't for you. It's a nice little respectful way to have them see what they want to get. And just kind of, you can imagine them again having this window to this opportunity to like speak up and know that they'll be heard and know that this will be a great foundation for that first conversation. So we can hit complete. And frankly, we just saw this in one of the earlier slides. Here's a message that acknowledges them. Hey, welcome, glad you're here. Why don't you come check out what's here? Okay, let's go. We can just make that. register our account. We're onto our account. Where it said there was something about a tour of the process that I can find in the courses thing. So I just click here. Okay. And here's where we have an example of that whole being able to play around and have some sort of guided messaging that allows them to welcome them into the system. So, okay, we can kind of read about it's not okay, not on your own, being supported. Okay. Oh, okay. There's a reason for this. Yeah, that's neat. And do I have any concerns? Oh, this is kind of cool. I'm being asked to do I want to weigh in on any concerns? This could be a nice little process. And this is something I made up, and you guys could design your own little structures of what kind of things they could do as their first run experience, where they can kind of let their thoughts be heard and interact and all that. And I could riff on this, and when they're done. Oh, okay. And then we can go on. And this whole thing is sort of a nice structure that is going to walk them through and tour them through the various knickknacks of this thing, get them feeling comfortable, but also get them acquainted with the process. And all of this, again, is here as a starting point that you guys can play with and further tailor. And these drawings, I've had a number of people ask, hey, can I use that drawing with my clients and just show them how it goes? Yeah, it's all open source. It's all for you guys to use however you see fit. And that, again, allows you to sort of illustrate and demonstrate, here's what we're going to do. And this is not a substitute for the magic of all your training and your expertise when you're talking to them, but it augments it, it supplements it, it gives them a sense for what they're getting into is more than perhaps meets the eye. So that's that. And I welcome you guys to sort of play with all this has to offer. We won't do it in real time, but that gives you a sense of the kind of experience you can give people as a first run right off the bat. Next up is eventually, because once they've had a little time to play and the whatever delay in time happens between when they first sign up and the intro call itself happens, it's time for the intro conversation. And like I just said a minute ago, this really all comes down to your training expertise. There's not a lot I can give you here, but this is where you shine as an individual coach. Actually, there are a few things I can give you here. You're going to definitely still bring your expertise and your distinctions and your way of being, your fantastic coaching prowess. But there are a couple of things checklist style that I invite you to make sure you include, because that helps the whole process of, again, being great with prospects and maximizing the choice that they'll come around to saying yes. I highly recommend that you express clearly that this whole conversation is to suss out whether it's a good fit, and that there is indeed space for maybe it's not going to be a good fit. And that's okay. When you create that powerfully, that they have the ability to be a yes or a no, and it's okay, they're going to be a lot less, worried about is this going to be a hard sell? You're taking that off the table, and that is very respectful. You're going to loop back heavily to their intake worksheet. This is again where you make good on the promise called, hey, you filled out and expressed what was important to you in this, and we're going to talk about that. What's nice about the CA Advantage, where if you give them a nice sequence to sort of play around and do a little pre-work as well as sort of guided and mediated by the portal itself, there are other bits for you to loop back to where they've been, again, able to engage with your materials, engage with some of the actions you like having them do. And you can, that is further fuel for your conversation to be truly in their world and truly of service to what's going on for them personally. When you do that, you get to cite the understanding of why it is that they're here, and you get to powerfully do the work, because they can't do it for you. And this is easy to skip because it's obvious to you, but you do the work of connecting what it is that they seek to what it is you offer. You know the ladder by the back of the back of your hand. They do not. So do that work to map on, what it is they're about and how you can help that. Be unflinchingly candid with this assessment. No exaggeration, no fluff. Let them know when there's not overlap. But again, just that sort of real honest appraisal of hey, here's what I understand you're about and what you're looking to accomplish in engaging with this coaching program. Here is what I can and cannot provide. That sort of thing, again, is positioning you as this trusted advisor to sort of, as a partner, look and decide and suss out what it is in terms of the overlap of what you can provide for them. If it's not a fit, hopefully that's going to be obvious to one or both of you. And if it's not a fit, that's okay. Acknowledge as much and be great with them. You can offer up alternatives. When I say offer up alternatives. I'm not saying you need to maintain a Rolodex of slightly similar coaches who might be a better fit that you refer them to. Offering up an alternative can be as simple as just like, hey, that's cool. This may not be for you. Maybe there's a book you recommend, or a podcast, or any sort of things that might also, like, given what I know about you, thanks for taking time letting me get to learn about you. Given what I know about you, and if I'm not the one for you, and given what I know about what's important to you, these things might be useful. It's a really great way to honor them and honor their time and give them a lovely parting gift. Then you simply deactivate their account, your account to CoachAccountable, and move on, and you're done. Now, if they are a fit, you want to give them a conversation to powerfully choose. You want to give clear options on how to move forward. This might be as simple as, sharing, like, here are the various offerings and ways to engage in packages that we have to offer. You don't have to do it on the spot. In fact, it's really great to give them space and have it be completely okay if they're in a place of, like, maybe I'll need to think about it. And we're going to see how to powerfully deal with maybe. But you refer them to the self-service offerings page so that they can come back to that if and whenever they're ready. And then, as a bonus-ish, maybe drip 2 emails maximum to follow up. You can use a course to sort of like set in motion a sequence of some messages that can go 5 days later, maybe 7 days later. This is industry standard. You're supposed to do it, but I'm not so sure. My thought on this is, if you've gone so far as to spend time with them personally and they're teetering on the fence, this is not the time to throw automation at it. This is the time to be a real person about it and resist the temptation to do what the standards marketers play of dripping content and newsletter subscription and autos is to do. So it's something you can do, but I recommend something that's a little more personalized, a little more customized, and we'll talk about that. But if it is fitting, I recommend that you introduce something that you can call the 72-hour challenge, or maybe it's the 48 or whatever. You can play with this as you want. But this again goes back to that idea of meaningful change and committed action happens in the now, not the someday. So putting a time bound is critical to make that powerful. You want to lead with a sentence like, you could say, let's have this conversation really make the difference for you. And that's where you can basically tee up a game called, in the next 72 hours, I invite you. Maybe you want to commit to, maybe you want to set in motion some intention to take some committed action based on our conversation that will, move you forward in a direction that is useful to you. They're still a prospect. They haven't committed to working with you, but this is still, this is your opportunity to sort of say, like, given what we said, like, why don't you get some more value out of considering working with me? Take some action and help them create those steps that will help move them forward. Set them up as action items in CoachAccountable. Even if they're not committed to working with you, it's still a nice way to, set them off and give them more of that taste, what it's like to work with you. Results-based, real accountability, follow through, all that good stuff. You'll type up and share session notes. And the reason to do this is because it's just magical. It's allowing you to give them key insights. Your director's cut on a silver platter for them is a true value add that map onto what they seek, those insights. This is a real demonstration of the value that they can expect working with you. Again, give them a legit taste. You've already spent 15 minutes, a half hour, maybe an hour having an intro call. Give them another 5 minutes typing up those things and send them off, share them. And then as they go on, support them from afar, the progress that they make on whatever action plans you set up with them. You can acknowledge completion. It's just a matter of like, hey, well done. I see you got that done. I hope that moved you, felt good and got you the progress you were looking for. Again, it's a real hands-off way, but that unlocks the magic and gives them the real experience of that magic of someone out there is listening for and cares about me fulfilling on what's important to me. That's highly motivational in a psychological way. You can also use the failure to complete, if deadlines slip and they don't do it. You can do that to do 2 things. One, you can offer support. Now, this is a little nuanced. It might be tempting to say, hey, I noticed the deadline for doing X passed. Do you need any help? Saying that is okay, but it puts them on the spot a little bit to say yes or no. And it also kind of puts you on the hook to do more work, which maybe you do or not have time for. Instead, what I recommend is offering support is like, hey, I see the deadline on this slipped. Remember, based on what we talked about, this is important because, and just let that sit. It's that reminder, that powerfully presencing what matters to them is itself highly motivational. And it's a complete one and done transaction. They don't have to react to whatever you said. Again, they're still off in the distance, you're giving them space to consider go, no go on working with you. That's a really nice way to respectfully offer support. And then you can also do it to gauge sincerity and commitment. If they're keen to playing the game or thoroughly not keen to playing the game, called the 72-hour challenge, and hey, let's take some action to make this conversation actually really cause some change in your world. That gives you a nice window, and you can use that to act accordingly. And then finally, leaving the door open. If someone is in the maybe pile and they haven't, the 72-hour challenge has come and gone, and they haven't taken any action to reach back out to you and loop back to you, say, hey, I'd like to work with you, or sign themselves up for one of your programs, you can leave the door open. And there's a really nice way to do that. You can elegantly handle when your prospect is a no or a not yet. And I recommend to do this. There's one email that elegantly does it all. It does a number of things. It acknowledges their commitment. It celebrates the work, however brief, but speaks to specific things that they did and accomplished. You can make it really clear the way to re-engage, and that is as simple as just having a link to some self-service offering. Hey, if and whenever the time is right, you can click here to book another thing with me and get a package in a session or whatever else. Let them know that it's an opportunity to pick up right where they left off, if and whenever the time is right. And you can even offer some optional parting gifts, which is kind of, again, a classy act that leaves them honored and kind of delighted by the experience of even just dabbling with working with you as a prospect. That is the client export file, a nice little download of like, hey, here's the record and the notes and the other things that we did during our brief time together. That's your souvenir and thing to keep. And you can also give an invitation to revisit the portal at any time. When you deactivate someone's account in CoachAccountable, you can still make it so that they can log in and see all the stuff at any time. And that, again, is a really nice way to leave the door open and let them sort of re-engage whenever their curiosity does take them to want to do so. Now, this email can be a template. In fact, I've created a nice template for you in that package that you guys can install, that resource package. So that's a great starting point. But if you care, customize heavily. Again, there's that dichotomy of where to put hands-on work and where to automate ruthlessly. Someone's a prospect and they're kind of on the fence and you want to leave them really honored. If you take your template as a starting point and then actually type up some things, hey, look, I acknowledge that you for having these things going on in your life and wanting to make a difference in them. I celebrate that we got these things done together, and speak to the real person. Everyone can tell when an email is a template and when an email was written by a real person. And guess which ones get a lot more airtime in our heads as we think and consider what we want to do next in our lives. So that is the way to do that beautifully. So as is my custom oftentimes during these things, let us take a moment to sort of arrange this whole jumble of ideas that I've given you over the last 30 minutes and map it out. So when it comes to wiring prospects into clients, when this person here is a new prospect and you have an offering for new people, and hopefully they're looking at it. This is our baseline assumption of our starting point of what we're calling a prospect. Now, hopefully you've got it framed in a way that is compelling, making clear and evident the why behind it. And then if that is all going well, they are deciding to sign up. First, they're picking their time to talk with you on the calendar for that classic introductory session. Make it soon. Next, they're giving info. Make what they have to fill out, few and far between, not too much stuff. And then an intake form, which again, to have this be maximally powerful, make it about vetting and really getting curious about what is it that you care about. It shows respect and gets them sort of like into the world like, ooh, I get to think about what matters to me. 1 part vetting to 2 parts what you care about. And then they finish that. So of course, we're going to communicate something that says, say welcome, but not just welcome, but welcome, something emphatically. We want to let them know, hey, we're stoked you're here, and let the messaging show that through and through. But not only welcome, hey, come on in and check this out. We want you to tour the process. Let's talk about some of the reasons why this is going to be cool and how this is going to serve you, and give a sense for how things are going to work when you're working with us. And maybe there'll be even some interactive bits that they can play at. And in this whole tour of the process thing and anything else you set in motion, the system can drop them some things like videos to watch and actions to do and files to do and things to track just for grins. Get a taste. Because that nicely, punctuates and fills the time and makes more meaningful and gets them more primed to talk to you. Because eventually it is time for the intro call. That is when coach and prospect finally get to say hello. And when you're having that intro call, you get to loop back to the intake form And you can to loop back to any other things that they've done, that they've interacted with, as they've sort of, again, explored your process and got the taste for the kind of things that are going to go on when they're working with you. And inevitably, at the end of that intro call, there's this sort of moment of like, well, which way are we going? Sometimes, not often, but sometimes maybe they're a clear yes. And that's great. If they're a yes, congratulations, you have a new client. Yay. But oftentimes, especially because we don't want to put people on the spot, they can traffic a little bit in the realm of maybe, where your prospect can take a little time to be like, let them think it over. And while they're thinking it over, we're going to honor them and make their experience be great by sharing the session notes, those, again, on a silver platter, those gems from the conversation that you just had with them, and maybe any other little bits that allow them to sort of play and interact and take action and make that conversation really count for something. And at the end of maybe, now or later, there's an offering where they can sign up in self-service fashion to work with you. And if they're a yes to that, then great. They're now your client. And if some time goes by and they're a no, or maybe just a not yet, that's okay too. We're going to give them a nice little message that says the door is open, and make that clear, and do it respectfully, and again, acknowledge and celebrate in a customized way that this has been great getting to know you, and we wish you luck, and whenever the time's right, we'll be around. That leaves someone who's honored. Yay, it's not quite the gold stars above, but the silver stars, that's still great. If you do your business such that every prospect who engages with you is either left honored or a client, your business will do fine. So this is what really is kind of the magic of handling people really well. And then let's loop back a little bit up here. Sometimes from the well, it's a clear no. They're not into it, or you mutually know it's just not a fit for what you're doing. That's great. You can acknowledge that, refer them elsewhere, again, to whatever resources or people or book clubs would be useful. And that also has that ability to leave them honored, which is what we're going for if they're not a yes. No problem. Because an honored client who has had a great experience of even just getting the taste of your way of doing things can always kind of loop back and in self-service fashion, go engage with that offering that you have made available to them, with that door being wide open, and become your client someday. Hopefully that gives you sort of a nice lay of the land of how all these interconnecting parts will work out, and give you a game plan to sort of shore up each one of those parts to give a really great experience to everyone who should be so bold as to raise their hand and say, okay, I'm interested in what you got. Let's see if this is for me. Moving on, I want to sort of maybe address the elephant in the room by saying the CA Advantage for Prospects is brought to you by prospects being full-fledged clients for a little while. Sorry, not sorry. Why am I saying sorry, not sorry? Well, as you guys probably already know, the pricing of CoachAccountable is based on how many active clients you have. And in case you're wondering, if there's a cynical listening in the back of your mind, that's fine. If this idea is a whole trying to be a fundraiser for CoachAccountable, trying to make your prospects into more paying clients that bump you up in subscription levels, I get it. I'd be suspicious too. Let's look at the math. Let's look at the impact of these mere prospects, these prospects who aren't yet paying you money to work with you, and how that can impact your CoachAccountable spend. If you crank through the numbers, it all depends on, what's your client count before and what's your client count after. Sometimes when you add a person, there's no price difference, but sometimes there is, And then if you factor in, well, how long are they active? If it's for the full month, that's a bigger, more likelihood to trigger, you being in a higher CoachAccountable level versus 7 days. 7 days is what we recommend. The punchline of all this, well, I'll make the spreadsheet downloadable so you can tinker with the numbers too, check my work. The punchline is it's about $2 per prospect when you keep them active for a week. And about a week is what we recommend. Now, if you are doing 20 intro calls a month, one, congratulations, you're top of the funnel to get people that interested to book an intro call with you is phenomenal. Congratulations. The CA Advantage for Prospects will cost you about $40. And indeed, if you're doing what I'm trying to advocate here of having a really effective, a really tight process between prospect to client, you can only have so many of those months before you're not looking at more prospects because your client roster is largely full and done. So that's sort of like your worst case upper bound and what you're going to pay for having those prospects in as full active clients for that little time. I'm going to throw out a controversial assertion, one I think is instructive. If you have a leaky, churny funnel, one that entails a large number of prospects, you are doing it wrong. Now, I don't mean to offend anyone by that. In fact, I hope this is good news, because instead of a controversial assertion, this is more of a powerful place to stand. In other words, if you do have that leakiness and it's just like, oh, I have to hustle so hard for so many prospects just to generate a few clients, it doesn't have to be that way. The whole crux of this message is that there's ways to do it so that you can much more reliably turn a small number of prospects into a workable number of clients. And one last thing on this to sort of dovetail onto, and put a real big perspective of the design of CoachAccountable into play and make that known for you guys, let you guys know kind of what I'm thinking when I do this. We get often that question, can't CA just work like a regular schedule, letting folks book without becoming full-fledged clients? No. Because CoachAccountable can't make your business prosper by saving you like 20 bucks on Acuity or whatever. But it does have a chance to make your business prosper by making you stand out such that prospects say yes more often. And that is what the whole design is going for. And what we've covered today is what will allow you to sort of leverage that advantage to make that a reality. So I want to end with some final thoughts. Giving your best without stretching too thin, because prospecting can often be a numbers game and trying to drum up business and hustle a lot. One, we have to be able to objectively vet, well, is this working? Is what working? Is whatever you're doing working? The math is kind of crude and easy. It works low res. You just measure the resources in versus the results out. For example, how many new clients are actually coming around versus the dollars, time, and energy that you spent to drum them up. A low res funnel gives you high insights. So as an exercise for the reader, you can look back at your last 30 days and get a clear enough picture of this. And then you can try something new. And then 30 days later, see how the same numbers measure up and then compare the two approaches. I want to sort of enroll you in the idea of moving away from a numbers game when it comes to prospects, because frankly, getting folks to prospect is often a slog. There's, newsletter hustling and social media hustling and networking and advertising spend and cost per click and all that stuff. Like it's highly energy intensive, generally speaking. And your time doing those intro calls doesn't scale. Your time is the one precious commodity that cannot be expanded. So you want to make those count. These two things come together to make it clear that fixing any leaks in the prospect to client step is a really high impact activity and therefore really worth doing and shoring up so that you can have the least amount of extra wasted effort generating prospects in order to get those clients. There is no substitute for paying attention. As I've alluded to several times in this talk right now, some of the real magic is that you're a real person who's there and thoughtful and caring and interested in the fate and the personal humanity of the person who's considering working with you. So I really do invite you to lavishly spend time where it does make a difference when it comes to your clients, and then ruthlessly cut out effort with automation everywhere else. And having that clear separation of which you'll do what for is going to be your compass to doing this effectively. And that summarizes as treat your prospects like gold. If you do, you'll have to do an awful lot less work to generate them, and you'll make your business thrive. And there you have it. Thanks so much for watching. I'd like to now open up the floor for questions, comments. There's an awful lot happening in the chat that I have not seen, but we'll keep recording because the community conversation is often incredibly valuable for folks who weren't able to attend live. So who has something they'd like to say? And
thanks, John. I just want to say that was brilliant, fantastic, and I think it's a very small investment in order to increase your conversion rates. So thank you so much. My question, I love the bit where you showed the onboarding with the tabs down the side of how that process flow goes. So is that a new look way of a course, or was that just your demo?
No, that's brand spanking new. So yeah, this is sort of understated. Course pages is now a thing. So courses for the longest time have been a way to make a streamlined, or not streamlined, a timelined dispatch of various items. And all the items sort of live in their own little sections. Actions go here, metrics go there, worksheets go here. Now with course pages, you can also design courses where they're meant to be consumed all in one page in linear sequential fashion, broken into sections. And so that's a new thing. If you go to your course builder right now, actually, if you create a new course and then choose client visibility, choose something other than totally hidden from clients, you'll see a little checkbox that says enable course pages. And when you do, then you can add section headers and course page content, and then you can create those flows in that way.
I'm a little bit in love with you now, because what you don't know is I've just spent 4 weeks, no, 2 months creating so much content that I wanted to be able to do that with 2 of my colleagues, and that is perfect. We're just that's just changed my world. So thank you for that. It's brilliant.
Nice. You're so very welcome. Yeah, it's been in the works for a while and well wanted, I think.
Yeah, no,
So glad it hits the mark for you.
Last question, then I'll shut up and let someone else take the floor. You know those fabulous boards that you have, like the drawing. Is that a program you use or something, or is it just your own artistic brilliance?
That's me and my daughter's colored pencils. And then I scan it in, and then I chop it up in Photoshop, and so to make the layers so that various parts appear. But yeah, that's all me for hand.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, thank you.
And sorry, I don't have a program to direct you to.
Yeah, that would be too easy, wouldn't it?
Nice artistic work, though, John.
Thank you, Don. And thanks for seeing you pump your fists when I revealed that course pages is now a thing. It's nice to see that enthusiasm for a lot of heads down programming.
So my question is, the courses that I currently have pieced together in CoachAccountable, how do I move those over? Okay,
here's a course. And to enable course pages, we just go to basics, and then under visibility, if it's totally hidden from participants, course pages don't apply. But if you do either of these settings, there's an ability, a little checkbox to do here. And when you have course pages enabled on the schedule, on the builder of the schedule, you have these new 2 areas, course section and page content.
Okay.
And setting up a section is just a matter of, setting up what is the title of it, and then maybe a notification message. And then content is just straight up content, right? And then we can click here to preview the page display and get a feeling for how it works, like in real time. So you can kind of tinker and test with the flow of things and get a sense for it and make sure that it's all really good for your clients before you do it. And as coach, you can, of course, jump to other sections. Your clients can't because they have to do it in straight up order, but you can for testing. Right. Then yeah, with this little navigate thing, you can just kind of jump to the various sections you have, and the same whole course timeline builder works, and it's just kind of broken into sections. Items here, various units or days, which when they have this little thing mean that there is a section that starts with that. There you have it.
Okay, so it'll show up like that when I open my course.
In the course builder, when you enable pages, yes, you'll have this builder, and then you'll be able to preview things, and then your clients will be able to actually click on the course and see this view, this sort of page-based display of the content.
Great. Yay, I'm so excited for this.
Right on. I'm so glad.
And then we can use this as well. We talked last month when we did this about the making videos to walk people through the parts of CoachAccountable that we use. And we can use that. We can use this for that too, right? So
definitely. I mean, I highly recommend, again, per the lesson on doing so and the pre-canned script that's right for customizing that's on the blog currently. You can make your own video with it, whatever tools you want. Zoom is actually pretty great for recording, the screen and making it. And then you can embed that video as a file as part of the course. And again, in this little sample course of Tour of the Process that you guys can install, I have included the generic one. And hopefully you guys can just make your own and pop out the version that you made. And then people, again, will be able to view it right in the app. Or you can keep this one as is. I mean, a lot of folks have already said, like, I can't be bothered to make my own thing. This is good enough. Cool. So it's a worthy starting point.
Hey, John, can I ask a question? I don't know if this
is definitely
a good place. Nice to meet you. This is so impressive. I absolutely adore the platform. I've been on it for a handful of days, so I'm just starting out, and I've been I've been consuming hours of webinars of you. So I feel like I know you, and I'm watching all this stuff. That course change is awesome. I mean, I've been looking for exactly that. So like amazing. And the updates that I see you constantly make, it's really, really incredible. One of the things that I'm curious about, and forgive me if I haven't figured this out on my own so far, it seems very centric to them scheduling kind of a breakthrough call first, right? So in your demo, and in fact, your great diagram today, it started with them kind of putting a thing on, and then we start them on some form of a course to get them warmed up before that call that was scheduled days out, let's say, and then maybe there's some follow-up after that. Is there a way to just put them onto a course without scheduling an appointment first? It seems that, and I'm trying to stack like appointments and engagements and offerings and figure out like how that all really goes together. I guess what I'm asking is, does the beginning of like an appointment have to be the first step? Like I would rather start them on maybe a free course and then at the end offer a very qualified, very informed prospect into the potential of a call there, which I do. I'm one of those people who does a ton of calls, and I want them to be very, very, very ready for that. That's not like the first step I want them to do. I'd like to train them up first. So how would I order that differently, maybe?
So I was rudely listening to you, but also doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And what I did, that other stuff, was exactly what you want. So
okay.
Just the course. I created an offering, and I did not say that an appointment was part of the offering.
Got it.
Just the course. And then we can actually test this out right now. Just the course, we hit preview, and then there you go. They sign up, they hit complete, just the course, and then they can pop right in. Again, we can do all those degrees of customization to give them the warm fuzzies, right? We maybe want to change the on-screen menu, like all set.
Yeah.
Just the course.
Perfect.
Oh, get cracking.
Yeah, so this is great because if we don't do just individual calls, like let's say I run like a free, challenge or something for a bunch of people, and then there's like a webinar sales event at the end of that or something. That is lovely. That's really, really great. Okay,
so
cool.
Some fun things about that. So you can make an offering that is membership into a group.
Mm-hmm. And a course, right? Like a free
and a course perhaps.
Course.
And then you can put restrictions. Maybe you only want to have so many people because it doesn't work past 8 or something like that, or it doesn't.
Sure.
And you just say, we'll hide it after 12 people have signed up.
That's so
great.
Wow,
that's new. Yay.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's newish, right? I announced it like a couple of months ago, but there's a lot going on. It's easy to miss. I'm sorry, not sorry.
And then if I did want to say at the end, let's say they're qualified, and at the end of a webinar, I'd like to say, hey, just if you want to talk with me further, and I do want to have like an onboarding sales call at that point after the course, that would just be pointing them to another offering that does have an appointment at the beginning of it, or something like that, right?
Yeah, let's play with this. So if we have a course that is, the course, maybe it's like 12 days, something like that. And we could then automatically say, on day 12, they're going to get a message. I want to do more or something. Oops, I forgot this. I can say, just click here to sign up. And you just put a hyperlink in. Oops, click enable formatting, so we can put a hyperlink, and then. So get our link, copy to clipboard. And that's it. A nice little nudge to and make it super simple for them to engage at whatever level and whatever they want next.
If this sounds stupid, it's just because I don't understand quite everything how it works. In this journey, if you set it up as a process of, say, for instance, 30 days or 15 units or 20 units, as I understand it, that's the journey. Can I still interject something, and I decide in that journey, I want to change the course of this person on day 13 and interject new information in that course? In other words, I can't change history, but I can still change the future.
Yeah, you can either edit the core template. In other words, you can just lay down track before the train gets there. If they're on day 10, anything you do on 13, cool. They'll see that on day 13. Or you can spin off a custom version of your base course to an individual and then tailor it to that individual without impacting your sort of standard on the shelf, ready for everyone one.
Okay.
And that's a matter of just spinning off the course. Just hit the edit icon, and the participation support can walk you through that.
Look, I'm just trying to figure it out. Give me about 2 weeks and I will nail it. So, but just thank you very much. I think it's awesome. And we'll go big on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, to you and everyone else, I just want to, make it crystal clear. There's an awful lot of ins and outs of Coach Accountable. I accept when you say, holy crap, it does everything. Yes. And the double-edged sword to that is there's a lot of ground to cover in order to fully wield it. And that's what we're here for. So I never feel like anyone's stupid.
We went down the rabbit hole of trying to, and I mean, really, we had fantastic coders. I mean, I had fantastic coders, programming and everything. And we created what we call journey components. And it's just a bottomless amount of money that's going into it. And it's just crazy. And I by accident came across your platform. I said, why don't just rather scale with this and integrate our assessment component? And so we will be going, as soon as we have it, we're going to move into, bring all our franchises over.
We'll be here to support you in that.
Hey, John,
Cool.
can I ask another simpler newbie question that hopefully, so again, it's this sort of appointments, engagements, and then offerings kind of nesting and how that works. And let's say that I am trying to sell a package that has, 10 group sessions in it that will go against an engagement in a certain way. But I'd also like to give them, 2 check-ins for free on top of that they can use. And I love the way you limit calls and have that set up. But is there a way in one offering to give 2 types of different calls? I couldn't see a way to stack that or a way to add that elegantly into kind of one offering. So it's like, hey, you've signed up for a quarter, which includes this group program and 10 group calls. And then at any time you could schedule these 2 little check-ins with me, but no more.
So you kind of can't. So it is possible to have someone in 2 engagements at the same time. And that is if someone goes and signs up for an offering that entails an engagement. So you can do it, but it's often a bad idea because it's complicated. It's fraught. Which one counts for which engagement and all that it's easy to get wrong and hard to get right. So you're kind of into what I call the weeds of, really nuanced business models, like 2 different types of things, and you get X of this and Y of that. And that's where I say, just try the human approach to like fill the gap between what CA can automate and just like say, hey, you've already had 2 of these freebie ones. I'm sorry, man, can't decline, right?
We can absolutely do that. And there's no question. And even if that took like on the human end, I wasn't aware you could add people to 2 engagements at the same time. So let's say they're in a group thing and then we want to quarterly give them 2 calls or whatever. Could we manually add them to a second engagement that just lets that kind of scheduling also be there or no?
You can't do it manually because again, for better or worse, CoachAccountable just won't let you. Because again, it's playing with fire, like with oily rags around. It's like a bad idea, right? Because we're going to get support things like, why can't my person book with me? Well, it's not quite configured right because you didn't handle all the edge cases.
Right.
If you really want to do it, tell your clients to sign up for a separate second offering that gives them the 2 a month. But you be real careful in your configuration of that offering to have certain carve-outs of which appointment types do and do not apply to each of the different allocations so that the extremes don't get crossed in terms of
naming exceptions and that
exactly
option. Right.
So it can be done. It's fraught, and that's why I
like
really
that. That's actually a pretty good solution. So they sign up for a group and then they say, hey, like, as a member of this group, you have access to this offering whenever you want to add it. And if they choose not to, but it also could be limited if they do. Right. So that's great. That I think will work really well. Thank you.
Yeah. I guess to summarize, it can be done. I'm nervous for you to do it, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Thanks, man.
You bet. And that was not a newbie question, by the way. So open floor, everyone. It's all good. Anyone else want to weigh in with anything?
Can I ask one more question? I just tried to convert one of my courses, and it said there are no sections.
That's when you tried to preview. You click the preview button, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Drag a section on there first.
I guess, because obviously it was an old style course, so I have to create all the sections. So for example,
just drag them on wherever you want. Maybe drag. I mean, the standard one that I anticipate most folks are going to do is drag a section right onto the very top of the timeline to be the very first thing. Here's an incidental implementation detail. Any course items that precede the first section will be truncated from that display.
Yeah. So
the course pages.
At the moment, you log on, you get a welcome, it dumps a load of resources into your files, and then you have a whole load of actions that are triggered. So you do an action, it triggers the next, do an action, triggers the next. So pretty basic stuff. So this is like a course where there's no participation. It's just
yeah. Actually, what I recommend is that you do 2 courses. One that dumps in all the resources and sets in motion all the stuff. And another that is, here's your interactive, like read some content and do a few things. Like you can actually segment and just have 2 courses, one that each does slightly different functions. You can merge them all together, but that can be really messy as well.
Yeah, that's where I was struggling to create it before, because it's like on our other portal it's more like an LMS system where here's a little video, here's the thing, you do the thing, you move on to the next. Now with the pages, we can do it. I want to do it all in CoachAccountable.
Yeah.
So this, I think, will enable us. So I just have to rebuild the course, but that's not an issue.
Or clone it and then delete some from the original and delete others from the new one.
Okay. Is there a tutorial for the new kind of pages thing?
I tell you what, I'm kind of cheeky about this. I soft launched it in the middle of a webinar. I haven't even written a blog post about how to use it with all these ins and outs. So coming soon, sir. I promise.
Brilliant. No, I mean, it's fantastic. So yeah, thank you. Okay, cheers.
John, that made me think of a question. In a lot of our courses, we have the content that's given out on a regular basis, and then we have content that are files that are available. So blank menu plans and blank work, like things like that. Should those go into 2 separate courses?
I think that might be elegant, because if you put them all in one, the page-based navigation is going to have a whole slew of files that people aren't really having as part of the linear, like, let's go through the material section by section.
Believe me, I've seen it already. It's
right on. So yeah, I suspect there'll be a burgeoning skill set among the CoachAccountable community of having good judgment of what belongs in a page-based course and what doesn't. So yeah, this is a great question you asked, and it really speaks to what's the sort of art of good design to make a good experience.
And so would someone be enrolled in 2 courses? Would they have to, in order to find the data, like let's say they're going through and it says, this course says, it's time to do your weekly prep worksheet for what you're going to cook for the week. And that blank worksheet is in a different course.
I think that anything sort of a routine drip of a habit-based thing would not actually be a good candidate for course pages stuff. Because can you imagine how boring it would be? Say you're in a program where like every 5 days a week you've got your check-in worksheet, and then like just looking through a whole blah 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 one after the other might be not the actual design, intended design.
So the devil's in the details there, deciding which ones are going to be recurring and which ones are one that you might look at, but you just might not.
Yeah. The course pages are designed to be perused and worked through. And courses that are not course pages, but the more general umbrella concept is for dripping any kind of content for whatever purposes. So yeah, there's only a subset that is going to be suitable for course pages. And the routine elements like a regular worksheet is probably not good for it.
So one course would be almost like a library.
Yeah, that could be just a shortcut to dispatching that many objects automatically for a setup. Just like Mark said, being able to dump a lot of materials into someone's account when they're just getting started. You wouldn't want to make that a course page.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
I got a follow-up question for these. An awesome webinar, by the way.
Hey, thanks.
Nice seeing you again. Thank you for doing this.
What part of the world are you in now?
I'm in the archipelago in Stockholm, and the ocean has frozen for the first time in 10 years, so it's pretty cool.
Right on.
Thank you for stop flying, everyone. We finally have winter back.
Right on.
Anywho, yeah, but so I'm trying to just wrap my head around this idea of the pages and the sections. If you have a course that's on dates, like let's say 10 days, would that means that, if they get an email, would that be sent to their email, but it would also be viewed in the course page on when the day has passed?
Yes. So
in the pages or the course pages, they will only see the items that have passed that day, or if they've done a unit or like a step.
Correct.
But
here's what I predict, Philip. when it comes to design, I predict that most course pages, or page-based courses, and we got to get the language all tight, will be unit-based courses, which is going to be renamed to steps-based courses, because it's a nice progression of you work and you do, and it unlocks the next thing. But you may have day-based courses that are course pages, but you design them a little differently. You'd say on Monday of week 1, this item and this item, and when you finish that, this item and this item, and you complete that, this item, this item. So you can do a week's worth of stuff, all one daisy chain thing on day 1, and then nothing for until the next week, and then another daisy chain sequence. That's what I anticipate is going to be the most elegant way to have course pages be a good display vehicle for a course, both day-based.
Okay, cool. Is there a link specifically to the course page? Like, how do I get a client to the course page?
I'm still sharing my screen.
Yes, you are.
Let's be trying to prospect just in. So both coach and client can go to courses and see the course and click on either the thumbnail. Oh, by the way, we can set thumbnails for courses, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Or go to course pages. Let me show you guys thumbnails real quick because I'm kind of proud of how they work. Because rather than making a lot of extra work for you guys to like, oh God, now I gotta make a cool image that represents the courseousness of my course, we'll generate one for you if you need one. Thumbnail you can upload or generate one for me, and you just pick some overlay text and pick a stock image or random and generate it. And maybe you want to like go sepia tone and do an overlay color. I don't know, make it old timey. I don't know. Generate it. Oops. Yeah, that's good. So you can generate a course thumbnail real slick, real easy, and it should give a certain, like, again, the elegance and class and visual appeal to the canon of courses you have. That was Morgan's idea, by the way. Good one, Morgan.
That's awesome.
Yay, Morgan.
That's Morgan. Good job. That's fantastic.
Yeah, more colors and images and stuff like that. I love it.
Right on.
John, I was excited. I thought you were going to jump in and show kind of days or something else with the breakdown of the pages. One of the questions that I sent in recently, and the answer that I got back from you guys, was to do multiple courses and hand them out. But I think the daisy chain that you just mentioned is actually the right solution. So let's say I have a group and it's 10 weeks long. And to your point, everything is dependent. You know, the week opens up all together, and then we're all working through that together. And then that's daisy chained. And so it wouldn't be like day 1, day 2, day 3, but for the whole first week, there's 10 things to do across that week at whatever pace they want. That seems to really fit. If you add that to the pages or the steps, like I'm trying to figure out whether that should be unit based or not, if I'm literally running a group that's actually going across certain dates, and just how that would look in the pages. And then I think Philip might have asked if there was like a direct link to a course, like from email, so that they don't have to sort of start at the top and find the course. Is there like an email link directly to a course directly? Sorry for all that at the same time.
Good. Let's turn on course pages. Add a section. I think the login link bounces them right to the page for a section. So you could hot link with a magic link to a given section.
That's great.
If that's not the case, as of now, it probably will be in a week, because what the heck? It's a new feature. I'm taking feedback and tweaking to make it more awesome.
By the way, I love that. I mean, in the current thing that I've built and kludged together over years, that's pretty complex and has a lot of stuff going on. That's one thing that we've never, ever had. So, I mean, like literally that little thing alone that you're like, oh, it'll be there, or it might be now, like is a big deal. That's really, really lovely.
Nice.
Great work again.
Right on.
Hey,
super fun.
Hey, John, I had to drop for a while. This is Damon. I apologize if you've already answered the question, but my question was, is there a way, kind of similar question, is there a link to this? So when somebody clicks the link, all they see is the course page? Or alternately, when they sign up, that when they go in, their display is just course page?
Not present. Again, some of these magic links might do that for you, and if it does, or will, you could have the notification email of a course section drop to someone instead of the click here to register drop to someone, and then they could jump that way. So
Cool.
you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it from an offering welcome message, but other places perhaps. Good bit of
No
feedback.
problem. And
That's interesting.
the other question is, if I hide, say, worksheets and things for people to see, will they still be able to fill out worksheets in a course page?
They will.
Excellent. I like it. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else before we wrap up?
Can I ask once something again?
Of course.
The stream, I think this, when we talk about the stream, is that like the timeline?
That's like the sort of chronological amalgamation of all the things that a client has done with you thus far.
So the stream, if I have it right, say for instance, I'm playing around in the app, and I'm just loading some content and going into the freebie account to see what it displays like, and I decide I've just loaded a lot of junk in there and I want to actually delete it. Is there a way to go clear that stream, or does it stay there? Because I've deleted some of the courses and stuff, and the content stays in the stream.
So when you delete a course, let's go to someone who has a course. This may be important as a little nuance when you're doing stuff. If I want to clear out tour the process, we see there's some actions that have been assigned and all that. You can say stop it and delete all the course items so far. If you don't do it, you're going to have to do it manually. But if you want to, when you're testing and you're doing testing with a course, it's wonderful to sort of nuke the whole thing, as it were, by just hitting delete all the things. Otherwise, you can delete things one by one. We can have in the stream, if we double click on actions, we can see all our actions. And then if we want to just delete one action, deleting an item correspondingly removes it from the stream. So now there's only.
Sorry, I'm still a newbie. I'm really, really very fresh to this. I found this on Saturday, and yeah.
How did you found this?
Awesome.
Nice.
That's all I wanted to know, because I was stuck in my whole timeline. The whole stream timeline was full of junk that I was playing around with, and I typed the delete and the exclamation marks, and it was still staying there. So it's probably because of that.
It all depends. If you delete a course, that won't delete the course items from a participant who's already been there. But if you delete out their course participation, in other words, we want to clear out all records of them being in this course. That's what you want to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So if I clear the tour of the process participation for Charlie Prospect, we can delete all the items. But if I just nuke the course itself, no one's going to lose their stuff, their historical stuff that happened to come from that course.
So let me ask another question. In that stream with the metrics and everything that's involved there, if I create a course and I put off, not visible, the courses section, I go and clear it so they don't display it in the client portal, it will still display in the stream.
Again, if you delete the items, the underlying items, they'll be removed from the stream as well. So
what I'm asking is, if I go and you go hide, because you can set up a client's view in their portal. You can go tick if they make the metrics. You can go
client
hide
page arrangement. Sure.
Yes. So if I because I don't want them to create their own metrics, but they will still receive the metrics that I use to measure them with.
I wouldn't hide this. If you're using metrics at all, I would not hide this at all, because that's kind of asking for trouble, right? Because you're just deleting it, you're removing it outright, and there's you may find that certain ways they can interact with it. Maybe they fill out worksheets that happen to pipe into those metrics. But if you've said, hey, don't display metrics at all, that's the wrong way to say, I don't want you to create your own metrics.
Okay.
Here's one of those where I recommend the human thing. Just say, don't create metrics. We're going to use your own, but don't make your own. And most people should be pretty abiding in that.
All right. No, that's cool.
Yeah. John brings up a good thing. The temptation to remove tabs where you're still using those. Even Damon kind of alluded to that. Like maybe Damon wants to remove the worksheets, but still have him do worksheets on the course page. Yeah, okay. But you might get into trouble where you don't expect. for example, if someone wants to edit their stuff or review things, they can only see it there, and it could be problematic. So
doesn't it also mess up as a coach? You won't actually see those tabs when you view the client.
right,
They'll
it's for
disappear
both
for the coach
parties.
as well.
That's right.
Well, John, how
Okay.
would that work? I heard you say that you could add a worksheet if you wanted to hide worksheets. Let's say before the pages within the course, it really looked like it was just a view of the course from there. Meaning, like I couldn't. There was like a little checkbox for an action, but I couldn't check it there, which was a little bit like, oh, I've got to go up to my action if I'm the thing. So with that pagination of the courses, and if you not that I want to, but if you were to remove the worksheet section but keep a worksheet in the course, where would that even be filled out? Like, does that pagination of the courses become interactive?
Actually, Rob, you got it wrong. So as coach, I can't mark things complete for a client from a course page.
Right.
But as clients going through my course page participation, I can fill out worksheets. I can edit whiteboards. I can mark actions complete.
Oh, I thought I'd switched accounts and tested that, but I must not have. So that's fantastic. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's another.
So truly, yeah, I mean, there's a great subtle nuance, right? That the course pages display is truly meant to be an interactive area to work through the materials.
That's great. All right, cool. Sorry to just keep kind of yaying, but
good.
this is fantastic.